Stop motion animation is a great way for students to share their stories in a really fun and engaging format. So this is just by using simple Google Slides. So the first thing we're going to need is a blank Google Slide template right here. So you'll notice that there's no text boxes or anything, and there's just a blank white slide. First thing I want to do is add my background for my setting. So the story I'm thinking about is maybe just something simple like a bee flying across the field to grab nectar from a flower or something. So the first thing I need is that setting. So I'm going to click on the background button for change background and then choose image. And then you're going to notice that there is a variety of different ways that we can collect images. I earlier checked under Google image search for field of flowers and I found these couple of pictures here, which might be helpful. I'm thinking maybe this one with the sunflowers. I'm going to double click on that one. I'm going to notice that the background of my slide is going to change. I'm going to click done. There we go. So the reason why we want to make sure that we use background is because the actual movement of the picture won't change. It'll always stay still, and we can grab our characters and do what we need to do with them. So the next thing we're going to need is our actual character. So I mentioned a bee flying across the screen and grabbing nectar from the flower. So I'm going to go to Insert Image. I'm going to click the little arrow next to Insert Image, and then I'm going to search the web here too. Now, the one thing I want to make sure I get when I insert an image that's going to be my character from Google is I want to have a transparent background. You could have images already preset and then use websites like remove.bg where you can remove backgrounds from pictures. But in this case, I think I'm just going to search for transparent background photo. So let's do B, make it kind of cartoony, so clip art, and then transparent background. So let's see what we can find here. So there's a couple of pretty good options available to us. I'm going to go with this B right here. Just double click on them and test that out to see he has a transparent background, and he does. He's a little big, so I'm going to shrink him. And since I want him to go for this flower right here, I am going to have to flip him over. So I'm just going to rotate, flip horizontally. There we go. And I'm actually going to start them off of my slide just over here. So what we're going to do is we are going to now have the bee start moving towards the actual flower. So in order for it to be a stop motion image, is we're going to have a duplicate copy of the current slide. So my bee is ready to go. I want to make sure I click on the slide that I'm going to duplicate on my film strip, and I'm going to click Control D to duplicate the slide. So now my bee is still off the slide, which is fine, but this time I want to click on them to select them, and I'm actually going to start moving them just a couple of spaces at a time. So in this case, maybe 3 to start. And same thing, click on number 2, Control D to duplicate. Click on my bee again, move them over a couple of spots, and continue on. So I'm going to do this a few times as my bee approaches the flower. Now, at around 5 or 6, I always tell my students to always go back a few slides or even the beginning and kind of see how it looks like, because it'll be easier if you have to make any corrections to correct it when you have fewer slides as opposed to many slides, because that'll be a lot less to correct. So I'm going to go back to number 1, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to start moving my bee. So quickly moving them up and down, and I can see my bee is moving pretty smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to go back to number 5, continue my routine. So just one more time. Maybe now I want my bee to move slightly upwards. So maybe just grab that rotator and just tilt them just slightly up. Control D. Control D. I'm going to see how this looks like. I'm actually going to straighten them out soon. So I'm going to go back to 5. You can see him kind of curving upward. So he's actually looking pretty good. So I'm just going to do one more duplicate to have a 10th. Move over 2 more. I'm actually going to straighten them out again. There we go, perfect. So let's see how this looks just in my editing screen. So he's approaching sunflower as we speak. So the students can continue doing this until they're done their story. And it's also good to double check the actual stop motion video by clicking on slideshow. That way you get an opportunity to see what it looks like right from the beginning. So down arrows again. There goes our bee. Just going to click quickly, and we can see he's moving pretty smoothly. So not too bad. So I could just continue on with this as we go. And if we even want our characters to maybe even have a couple of comments or captions, do one more Control V, I can click the Shapes section, go under Callouts, and we can see some speech bubble options. And I can add a speech bubble in there. And then type right inside. That looks funny. And then one more duplicate. Move over. I'm going to keep that speech bubble there for a couple of slides so it gives the audience an opportunity to read it. And then you can just simply delete it. There we go. So do one more test. Here we go. Perfect. And he's approaching the sunflower nice and smoothly. And that is it. That is a very simple way to create stop motion animation with your students.